Hello guys, hope you're doing well as always and welcome back to another Premier League predictions video. We're back again in quick succession. This December period is going to be extremely busy for me. I mean, I've got uni essays that I've been putting off to do these videos, so I hope you do enjoy. If you're a regular viewer and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, and if you could be so kind enough as well to hit the like button, I would very much appreciate that. But let's get into the video. So we'll start off with the comments from last episode. I've got 3 comments from Bumba. Tommy, you need to change your name, mate. Alex Nicholson, it's good to see you back, mate. And Harry Dennis, who by the way is the person who makes the music for my outro, so definitely go and check him out. I'll put the link to his Instagram down below for you guys to check him out. Literally any music that you need, message him. He's a genius, honestly. But honestly, you guys actually banged it. Like, it's ridiculous. We'll get into the specific scores when we look at the leaderboard, because let's put it this way, all 3 of you now make up the top 3 of the leaderboard, which is ridiculous. We'll start with Bumba, or right, I'm just gonna call you Tommy because I'm not saying Bumba anymore in this episode. Tommy, mate, you correctly predicted 2 of the scores from this game week, let alone the results, which is fantastic. Otherwise, it was a little bit shaky in places, but generally you had a very strong week. Harry, mate, you got 3 correct scores and smashed it everywhere else, to be honest. You had a very strong week. But neither of your 2 scores came really that close to Alex Nicholson, who absolutely smashed it. Just bear in mind that this guy got 5 correct scores. That's ridiculous. That's 25 points from those predictions alone. Let's have a quick look at what it means for the leaderboard. So we've now got a top 5 in the leaderboard. We've still got Dayam Elahi and Zach Clanford making up 4th and 5th, and the top 3 are all new entries. Tommy in 3rd place with 21 points, Harry in 2nd place with 24 points, and Alex Nicholson with 28 points. What I'm going to do is, whoever finishes top, I'm going to think of a prize and we'll give it out at the end, because that'll be a bit of fun. So there's now something to play for. If you are new to this video and you haven't commented your score predictions, comment, because you could get a really cool prize or a pretty crap prize depending on what I decide. I have also put an asterisk next to the top 3 at the moment because there is still 1 game to play. Obviously the Tottenham and Burnley game did get postponed due to heavy snow, so I will take your predictions, and when that game gets played, I'll add it onto your score. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, the less said about my scores the better, so we're going to gloss pretty quickly over this. But I got 9 points. I got 3 of the results right, everything else I got wrong, so we'll just move on and hope for better in the next one. As always, guys, there is a link in the description for Movember for you guys to donate if you could be so kind, but it is not required. It's just if you're feeling generous. On with the video. With the first kickoff on Tuesday night, now we've got Newcastle at home to Norwich, a relegation 6-pointer, and this is massive. In their last 5 Premier League meetings, Norwich have actually won 3, with 2 being draws and the other being a Newcastle win. So recent-ish form leans in the favour of Norwich, and they haven't been playing too badly of late. After a ridiculously poor start to the season, they are unbeaten in their last 3 games, winning 2 and drawing the last against Wolves, who have picked up fine form in their last few games. Newcastle, on the other hand, have struggled so badly this season, and there's been a bit of a boost since Eddie Howe's come in. You've noticed an improvement in the style of football, but generally that lack of picking up points remains the same. Although Norwich are playing well at the moment, they are still a very weak squad. It's still the same side that got walloped 7-0 against Chelsea, so this is a great opportunity for Newcastle, and I think we're going to see a really good game of football. My prediction for this game is going to be a very tight one, as I've already said, and I am going to go for Newcastle to get that home advantage over the line. I haven't been back in Norwich of late, and they have kept on proving me wrong, but I think that 4 is a step too far for them, and I do think that Newcastle are going to win this game 2-1. The next match that we're going to be focusing on is Leeds at home to Crystal Palace. What you'd expect to be a mid-table clash at this point of the season is in reality 17th place against 11th. Crystal Palace having a great season, but stumbling a little bit of late in recent weeks, drawing 3-3 with Burnley and losing 2-1 against Aston Villa in a narrow defeat in their last game. Leeds, on the other hand, had a fairly uninspiring 0-0 draw against Brighton, still no Patrick Bamford and still struggling to find goals. I personally feel like it's just a matter of time for Leeds to just click and it will get back into form for them and everything will be alright. I certainly don't think that they're going to go down, but there's no doubt that they're not playing great and they are struggling at this point of the season. Palace, on the other hand, despite a good start to the season, are still quite hit and miss and a bit difficult to predict. Benteke is capable of turning it on when he wants, as is Edouard, as is Conor Gallagher, who is probably the more consistent of the 3 that I've mentioned. I am going to back Crystal Palace in this one, as much as it pains me, and I do think it's going to be relatively narrow. I'm going to go for another 2-1 win in this game, but this time to Crystal Palace. Sorry, Dus, I do think that there is potential that Leeds will turn it around in the future, but they're just not quite there at the moment. I don't know what it is. Maybe a few signings needed in January, but at the moment you're not quite at the races, hence why I think Crystal Palace will win this one 2-1. The next game that we're focusing on is Southampton at home to Leicester, taking place on the 1st of December on the Wednesday. Pinch punch, first of the month, no returns. I need help. Quite a close game, this one. It's a bit of a mid-table battle at this point of the season. Southampton very capable of upsetting the odds, as they did against Man City earlier in the season, but Leicester seem to be finding their form a little bit. They're still very, very leaky at the back, conceding 2 against Watford in their last game, but what they're managing to do at the moment is get slightly better results. The 2-1 win against Brentford was very good, and maybe that game against Watford is a sign of things to come. And contradicting what I said about Southampton earlier about how they're able to pick up points, they've lost their last 2 games. 2-1 loss against Norwich, and that 4-0 thumping that they suffered a few days ago against Liverpool. When you've got a prolific goal scorer in your side like Jamie Vardy, who's already picked up 9 goals this season, it's hard to look past Leicester. And in fact, I'm actually going to go for a Leicester win in this game. I think they're going to win it fairly comfortably. I'm going to go for 3-1. I backed Southampton to score in their last game against Liverpool, and unfortunately for my predictions, they didn't. However, you're up against a very, very leaky defence in Leicester, and I do think that they will be able to score, but I can't see them winning this game, unfortunately. The next game we're going to go into now is Watford at home to Chelsea, and obviously I'm representing Chelsea with the shirt. What do you think of the shirt, by the way? It's a bit of an old one, maybe a little bit small, but it is a nice shirt. I'll go as far as saying it's probably my favourite Chelsea shirt of all time, but that's probably just because of the memories associated with it. But focusing on this game, as I've said for the last couple of weeks, Watford are a really tricky team to predict because they are just capable of picking up a result here, there and everywhere. It's just a consistency that they're lacking at the moment. On the other hand, you're coming up against Chelsea, who are the most consistent team in the league at the moment, I'd say. The 1-1 draw that we suffered earlier against Manchester United is a bit of a shame, especially when you look at the goal that we conceded. We're very rarely sloppy at the back, but the mistake from Jorginho was very, very costly, which is definitely something that Watford could take advantage of. Emmanuel Dennis, Josh King and Malang Sarr all have 5 goals, and they're all having very, very good seasons. I do think, though, it is very hard to look past Chelsea in this game, though. On average, we score 2.3 goals per game, and we only concede 0.3 per game, which is fantastic for a side that are trying to challenge for the Premier League. Our defence this season have been phenomenal. For that reason, I am going to go for a fairly comfortable Chelsea win, and I do think that we're going to win this one 2-0. As I've said, Watford have definitely got the players and the ability to come and upset us on the day, but I do think that Thomas Tuchel will be very harsh on the players for not managing to secure the 3 points against Manchester United, and he's going to really emphasise the fact that we cannot afford to drop any more points, especially against Watford. The next game that we're focusing on is West Ham at home to Brighton. As previously mentioned, Brighton drew their last game 0-0 against Leeds, which is an okay result for them, but the most glaring thing from that game was their inability of their strikers to hit the back of the net, which is the story of Brighton's season. They're great at making chances, but they just can't find the back of the net. That result even led to the Brighton fans booing the team, and mainly aimed at the strikers, but Graham Potter certainly wasn't happy about that. And West Ham, on the other hand, have had a great start to the season, but slightly at risk of dwindling off a bit. They've lost their last 2 games against Manchester City and Wolves, but it's always going to be difficult to beat Man City at this level, regardless of how good a season you're having. I mean, you look at Chelsea, for example, they lost against Manchester City, and yet they are widely regarded as the best team in England at the moment. It's a great opportunity for West Ham to try and pick up some points and find their winning form again, and keeping this one relatively short, I think they will. I think they're going to win this one 2-0. I think it's going to be more of the same for Brighton. I think they're going to look good throughout the majority of the game, but their inability to find the back of the net is really going to hurt them this season, and it's only going to keep doing so until that problem gets fixed. The main solution to that for me would be to get a new striker in the winter. However, I know that for smaller clubs like Brighton, the money isn't always there. The last of the 7:30 kickoffs is a very tricky one to predict. It's Wolves at home to Burnley. And now the reason why I say this game is going to be hard to predict is mainly because of Burnley. Not a great start to the season at all, but in their last 4 games, they are unbeaten, winning 1 and drawing 3. But they're also going to have had a little bit of an extra rest due to the fact that they didn't have to play their game against Tottenham because the pitch was covered in snow. And that could give them a big advantage in this fixture. Wolves have looked a little bit patchy this season, but generally at the moment, they seem to be finding their form a little bit better. The way that they're playing their football at the moment seems to be a lot less disjointed than it did at the beginning of the season, which I think holds them in good stead for the rest of the season. However, it's always difficult coming up against this Burnley side, who can be ruthless on their day. I think this is going to be a relatively high scoring game. You've got players like Cornet, who's already on 5 goals, Hwang Hee-chan on 4 and Jimenez on 3. I'm expecting a lot of goals from these forward players, and I think this is going to be a 2-2 draw. I can't quite pick a winner between the two sides. Wolves have definitely got more quality in their squad than Burnley, and for me, the favourites in this game, but I do think they're going to fall slightly short in this fixture, and they will draw this game. Up next, we've got Aston Villa at home to Manchester City, and I can't help but feel like this is going to be a little bit of humbling for Steven Gerrard after his good start at Aston Villa. As it stands, you're coming up against the second best team in England at the moment, the reigning Premier League champions, and despite the significant investment into Aston Villa's squad in the summer, they have struggled at the beginning of the season. I think at this point of the season, success for Aston Villa will be to finish in the top half of the table because it is very competitive at the moment, but in a game of this size, I do think it's going to be very hard for them to pick up the the points. Manchester City have got so many different avenues of which they can score. Their top goal scorer at the moment is Bernardo Silva on 4 goals, but then you've also got the likes of Gundogan and Phil Foden on 3 goals. As I've already said, I think Man City are going to win this game, and I think it's going to be fairly comfortable. I don't think they're going to concede, and as a matter of fact, I do think that they are going to win this game 3-0. Don't get me wrong, Steven Gerrard has already got a lot of good things out of Aston Villa since taking over, but I think this might be a step too far for him too soon, and I expect Man City to win this game very comfortably. The last Wednesday game that we're going to focus on is arguably the biggest game of the game week. It's Everton at home to Liverpool, the Merseyside derby. Just under a mile in distance between the two stadiums. This is going to be a feisty fixture for the two clubs and for the supporters as well. I'm a man who loves all things tradition in football, and as far as derbies go, this is one of the best the country has to offer. In the last 5 meetings in the Premier League, there have been 3 draws, a 5-2 win for Liverpool, and in the last meeting between these two sides, Everton actually won 2-0 away from home. I do think it's going to be very hard for them to kind of reach those levels though in this fixture due to their poor form at the moment. Their last win came on the 25th of September, and it was against Norwich. Since then, and since their strong start to the season, it's just been downhill for them recently as they find themselves in 14th place. Liverpool, despite a few blips here and there, have been fantastic this season and blown away their last 2 opponents. 2 4-0 wins on the bounce is great for any team, but after a draw against Brighton and a loss against West Ham, that's a perfect way to shut up your critics. Rafa Benitez obviously up against his old team, a team in which he won the Champions League with as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Liverpool fans take to this. It's always very difficult though, because with derbies, it's not a normal game of football. It's very hard to say who's going to win because ultimately it just matters on the day. However, I do think that there is an exception with this game. Ultimately, I can only see this going one way. I can only see it being a Liverpool win, and I think it is, unfortunately for Everton fans, going to be very comfortable for them. I think it is going to be a 3-0 win to Liverpool. Once again, I can't see this going any other way. I know it's a rivalry. I know that these things go out the window. Things like form, quality of the team even sometimes. There can be really big upsets, but I do just think that when you're missing such key players like Everton are, it's going to be so hard for them to get a result, which is why I think that Liverpool are going to win this one very comfortably and win 3-0. Up next now, we are going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Spurs against Brentford, and in a way, the fact that the Burnley Spurs game got called off may have come at the perfect time for Tottenham. After losing 2-1 away from home against Mura in the Europa Conference League, which is a dreadful result, Antonio Conte has realised and even spoken publicly about the scale of this challenge that he's got. But this is a great opportunity for them to now make amends, and a little bit of extra rest as well for them to try and get the ball rolling and try and move further up the table. At the moment, they find themselves in 7th place, and with the squad and the players that they've got, it's really not good enough. I don't even know if they're going to make Champions League football this season. I'd be very surprised. Shifting the focus onto Brentford now, after 5 games without a win, they did manage to pick up their first win since that rough patch of form against Everton, which is a great result for them because despite the fact that Everton, as I've previously mentioned, haven't got a lot of their best players, they're still a very good side and still pose a challenge for a team like Brentford. And coming up against a very out of form Tottenham side is a great opportunity for them to even extend that and potentially pick up some more points. I think Ivan Toney's going to have the day of his life against his Spurs defence at the moment, who are ultimately struggling a hell of a lot. And the fact that Brentford have been fairly inconsistent in their last few games, I do think that Spurs are going to win this one relatively comfortably. There's going to be some shocks, there's going to be some scares for sure, but I do think they're going to win this one relatively comfortably, 2-0. And finally, I know I said it about the Everton-Liverpool game, but in terms of close, big fixtures, this is probably the biggest, most competitive, certainly, game of the game week. It's Manchester United at home to Arsenal. Now, rewind 15 years, and this would probably be first against second. However, at the moment, it is 8th against 5th. How the mighty have fallen. Arsenal managed to bounce back from their 4-0 thrashing against Liverpool by beating Newcastle 2-0, which was a good result considering the fact that they were under a bits of pressure here and there. They defended well, and Ramsdale made some great saves. I don't know why that John Joe Shelvey save, by the way. He's getting so much stick for over-exaggerating it when actually it was a perfectly good save. I personally don't think that he exaggerated it, but I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments and I'll ignore it. I'm joking. I'll read them. I don't get comments, so it's nice, even if you call me a nonce. Manchester United, on the other hand, managed to pick up a very impressive point against Chelsea away from home, which for them is a brilliant result. For anyone, it's a brilliant result, but considering the form that they've been on of late, it's a great result for them, and it's sure to give them a boost of confidence, which is what they very much need. The resting of Ronaldo against Chelsea this weekend makes it almost certain that he's going to start against Arsenal, which is already going to cause that Arsenal defence a lot of problems, because despite how well they've been playing, they are still very inexperienced, and coming up against arguably the GOAT, he's certainly my GOAT, this is going to be a real test for them and Aaron Ramsdale. In their last 5 meetings, Arsenal have won 3 and there have been 2 draws, so Manchester United have not beaten Arsenal in their last 5 meetings in the Premier League, which is, it's outrageous really when you think about it. Considering that record stretches back 3 years, that's outrageous. But the big question is, will they be able to pick up the 3 points in this game? I don't think so. I'm going to go for a boring draw in this game, and to be honest, I'm actually going to go for a 0-0 draw. I think this is going to be a bit of a stalemate. I think there's going to be an emphasis on both sides to not concede, to not let the other team get the winning goal, and I think that this could be a fairly flat fixture, despite all the hype around it. And to be honest, I really hope it's not, because I'd love to see a great clash, but as I said, I can just see both teams cancelling each other out, and I don't think there's going to be any goals, hence why I've said it's going to be 0-0. That is it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, please hit the like button, subscribe, and also if you've enjoyed this content, I do also upload FIFA content. I do a career mode, a player career mode, which is, it's a good laugh, so go and check it out if you could be so kind. I'd very, very much appreciate that, and comment saying I came from the Premier League predictions, and I'll go, cool. Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much for watching anyway, guys, and I hopefully will see you in the next one. I've got a hell of a lot of predictions to do this month, so you'll be seeing plenty more of me. Hope you've enjoyed. See you in the next one. Take care. Peace and love.